Captain John Williams had always been a man of unwavering resolve. From a young age, he dreamt of serving his country, envisioning himself on the front lines, protecting what he held dear. His dedication and courage earned him a spot in one of the most challenging roles in the military, leading a specialized K-9 unit tasked with high-risk missions in dangerous territories. It was a position that demanded not just tactical precision and bravery, but also a deep trust in his partner Max. Max wasn't just any military dog, he was extraordinary from the start. A sleek German shepherd with keen intelligence and an unmatched sense of loyalty, Max quickly became known among the ranks as a hero in his own right. Together, John and Max were an unstoppable duo. They saved countless lives, often venturing into situations where others wouldn't dare. Whether it was sniffing out explosives in enemy terrain or protecting the squad under fire, Max was always by John's side, ready to leap into action. For years, they operated as a seamless unit, their bond going beyond mere training. It was said that Max could read John's thoughts just by a glance. In the chaos of war, where danger lurked around every corner, Max was John's anchor, his constant source of reassurance amidst the storm. Likewise, John became Max's protector, treating him not as a subordinate but as an equal, a partner, a friend, and in many ways, family. But their relationship wasn't just forged in moments of peril. Between missions, there were quiet times, moments where Max would rest his head on John's lap as they sat under a foreign sky, the stars above reminding them of home. John would often talk to Max as if he were a confidant, sharing his dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. Max listened silently, his warm brown eyes filled with an understanding that no words could capture. Their bond became legendary among their fellow soldiers, who would often joke that John trusted Max more than he trusted any human. And perhaps that wasn't far from the truth. In Max, John found the kind of loyalty and courage that only strengthened his resolve to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. This partnership, however, came with its own set of challenges. The military had rules, and those rules were clear. K-9s were considered government assets, even after their service. When John's deployment ended, and his time in the military drew to a close, he was faced with the harsh reality that he would have to leave Max behind. It wasn't a choice he made willingly, but a decision forced upon him by circumstance. As John boarded his plane home, leaving Max behind on the tarmac, he felt a pain far greater than anything he had endured on the battlefield. He promised himself, and silently to Max, that this separation wouldn't be forever. One day, somehow, they would be together again. Little did John know, fate had plans for him and Max that would defy all odds and test the unbreakable bond they had built through years of shared hardship and love. During their years of service together, Captain John Williams and Max became the epitome of trust and partnership. Their bond wasn't just formed out of necessity. It was forged in moments of life and death, in the crucible of war where survival often depended on a split-second decision and unwavering trust. Max was more than a military dog. He was John's constant companion, his shield in times of peril, and his eyes and ears in the chaos of battle. There were moments when Max's actions went far beyond what was expected of any soldier, human or animal. One such instance etched itself in John's memory forever. It was a cold, moonless night in a hostile territory. The squad had been tasked with clearing a path through an enemy-infested village. The air was thick with tension, every sound amplified, every shadow a potential threat. As the team advanced cautiously, Max suddenly stopped in his tracks, his ears perked and his body rigid like a taut spring. John knew this signal. Max had detected something. Following Max's lead, John halted the squad. It was then that Max, with precise focus, directed their attention to a seemingly harmless pile of rubble nearby. A closer inspection revealed a hidden improvised explosive device, its detonation mere moments away. Max had saved the entire team that night, his instincts and training averting what could have been a catastrophic loss. This was not an isolated event. Max's bravery extended beyond the battlefield. During a humanitarian mission, the unit was tasked with evacuating civilians from a war zone. Amid the chaos, a frightened child had wandered off, unnoticed by the fleeing crowd. It was Max who found her, huddled behind a crumbled wall, terrified and unable to move. Despite the risk, Max stayed with the child, barking to alert the soldiers. When John arrived, he saw Max gently nudging the girl, his protective stance ensuring she remained unharmed. Together, they brought her to safety, a moment that John would later describe as one of the most profound of his life. In every mission, Max demonstrated an almost supernatural understanding of what was required. Whether it was protecting the squad from danger, standing guard in the dead of night, or offering silent comfort during moments of doubt, Max was always there. He was more than a partner. He was a lifeline, a beacon of hope in a world often devoid of it. Off the field, their bond deepened further. John and Max shared countless quiet moments, away from the chaos of their duties. After a grueling day, John would sit beside Max, running his hand through the dog's thick coat, finding solace in his unwavering presence. Max, in turn, would rest his head on John's lap, as if to say, "I'm here, and we're in this together." Their connection became legendary among their comrades. John and Max wasn't just a pairing, it was a symbol of unyielding loyalty and unmatched courage. Soldiers often said Max seemed to understand John's commands before they were even spoken, as if their bond had transcended language. It wasn't just a relationship, it was a partnership built on trust, love, and an unspoken promise to always have each other's backs. Together, they were unstoppable. Yet, even in their strongest moments, the shadow of their eventual separation loomed, a heartbreaking inevitability that neither was prepared to face. But life, as it often does, had its own plans for Captain John Williams and Max. Despite their unshakable bond, circumstances beyond their control would soon pull them apart. The military had its rules that didn't account for the kind of connection forged between a man and his loyal dog. When John's deployment ended, Max remained in service, bound by duty even as John returned home to civilian life. The goodbye was agonizing. On the tarmac, with the hum of planes in the background, John knelt beside Max, his voice breaking as he whispered, "I'll find you again, buddy. No matter what, I'll find you." Max, as if understanding every word, rested his head against John's chest, his tail thumping weakly, reluctant to let his partner go. It was a moment that haunted John long after he boarded the flight, leaving behind not just a partner but a piece of his soul. Years passed, but not a day went by when John didn't think about Max. He searched tirelessly, using every connection and resource at his disposal. Yet with every dead end, hope seemed to slip further from his grasp. Max, too, faced his own trials. Retired after years of service and placed in a shelter, his once bright eyes dulled by time and exhaustion. The bond they shared, though distant, remained unbroken, as if the universe itself wasn't ready to let their story end. Then, one ordinary day, everything changed. A chance encounter, a twist of fate, and a dog's unrelenting spirit would set the stage for a reunion so powerful, it would bring tears to the eyes of all who witnessed it. What followed wasn't just a meeting of old friends. It was a testament to the enduring power of love, loyalty, and second chances. Their unexpected reunion years later will bring tears to your eyes. Stay with us as we unravel this extraordinary story of a soldier and his dog, separated by duty, but brought back together by an unbreakable bond. After years apart, the reunion of John and Max felt like a dream, a moment neither of them could have imagined would come true. But there they were, side by side once more, ready to reclaim the life they had built together. For John, having Max back wasn't just about companionship. It was about finding the piece of his heart that had been missing for so long. Their days quickly settled into a familiar rhythm, as if no time had passed. Every morning, John would open the door to Max's eager face, his tail wagging furiously, ready to explore the world again. They walked together through the quiet neighborhood streets, Max leading the way with his nose to the ground, rediscovering the sense of freedom. It was a simple ritual, but one that spoke volumes about the bond they shared. For John, those walks were a time of reflection, a moment to appreciate the unwavering loyalty Max had shown, even through their separation. Afternoons were filled with playful routines that brought life back into Max's aging frame. John would toss a ball across the yard, and Max, his instincts still sharp, would sprint after it with surprising energy, tail wagging triumphantly as he returned it. Sometimes they'd rest in the shade of an old oak tree. Max sprawled out on the cool grass while John ran his fingers through his fur. In those quiet moments, John would talk to Max, just as he had years ago, sharing his thoughts and dreams as if the dog could understand every word. And perhaps Max did, because his soulful brown eyes always held a quiet, knowing expression. In the evenings, their bond deepened even further. Max would curl up at John's feet while he read, the rhythmic rise and fall of the dog's breathing filling the room with a sense of peace. Occasionally, John would glance down and smile, grateful for the second chance they had been given. It wasn't just John who found healing in these moments. Max, who had spent his years of separation in uncertainty, seemed to regain his confidence and vitality. The gray in his muzzle became less noticeable as his youthful spirit returned. His playful barks echoed through the house, a sound that had been missing for far too long. For both of them, these routines weren't just activities. They were a testament to their resilience, a celebration of a bond that had survived the test of time and distance. Together, they were rebuilding not just a life, but a shared sense of purpose and joy. And in every wag of Max's tail, in every quiet smile from John, there was an unspoken promise. This time, they wouldn't let go. With Max by his side again, John's outlook on life began to transform in ways he hadn't thought possible. The years without Max had left a void in his heart, a lingering sadness that clouded even his happiest moments. But now, that void was filling with the warmth and light that only Max could bring. It wasn't just about having his loyal companion back. It was about rediscovering the joy of living. Each day felt like a gift. The mundane routines that once seemed empty were now filled with meaning. Morning walks became moments of reflection, where John found himself smiling at the simple pleasures. A bird's song, the feel of sunlight on his face, and the sound of Max's paws crunching on gravel. These moments reminded him of the beauty in the world, something he had struggled to see during their time apart. John's friends and family noticed the difference almost immediately. His once solemn demeanor had been replaced by an easy laugh and a newfound energy. He talked more, shared more, and carried himself with a lightness that hadn't been there before. "It's like you've woken up," his sister remarked one afternoon, watching as John and Max played fetch in the yard. And in many ways she was right. Max had brought him back to life. Max, too, was thriving in their reunion. When John first brought him home, there had been hints of the toll the years had taken on him, a slight stiffness in his gait, a weariness in his eyes. But with each passing day, those signs faded. The once tired dog rediscovered his youthful spirit, bounding after tennis balls with the same enthusiasm he'd had as a young recruit. His eyes sparkled with mischief during their play, and his tail wagged endlessly, a living testament to his happiness. Beyond their routines, Max seemed to sense the deeper change in John. On days when doubt or worry crept in, Max would nudge John's hand with his nose or rest his head in John's lap, offering silent but steadfast reassurance. It was as if he were reminding John of how far they had come, and how much they still had to look forward to. Together they became a source of inspiration for others. Neighbors would stop by just to see Max, marveling at his boundless energy and gentle nature. Children from the nearby park would gather to play with him, their laughter filling the air as Max eagerly joined in their games. Watching Max interact with the world reminded John of something he had nearly forgotten, that no matter how heavy life may seem, there is always room for joy. For John, Max wasn't just a companion. He was a mirror reflecting all the good that still existed in the world. And for Max, John was his anchor, the person who gave him purpose and a reason to keep going. Together, they were proof that love and loyalty could heal even the deepest wounds, paving the way for a future filled with hope. Their reunion didn't just change John and Max's lives, it became a source of inspiration for everyone who witnessed it. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers couldn't help but feel moved by the extraordinary bond between the soldier and his dog. It wasn't just the story of their separation and reunion that captured hearts. It was the way they seemed to complete each other, filling the spaces that time and hardship had carved out. Whenever John and Max took their daily walks, People would stop to admire the duo. Some would ask about Max's story, and John would share it, his voice filled with pride as he recounted their time together in service and the challenges they had overcome. His words, paired with Max's calm, watchful presence, left many deeply touched. For those facing their own struggles, their story became a reminder of resilience, hope, and the power of enduring loyalty. Children in the neighborhood were particularly drawn to Max. They would gather around him, petting his soft fur and giggling as he wagged his tail in delight. Parents, watching from a distance, often commented on how Max seemed to bring out the best in everyone around him. "He's like a magnet for happiness," one neighbor said, smiling as her child laughed and played with Max. For John, seeing Max bring joy to others reinforced just how special their bond truly was. Max also had a way of connecting with people who needed comfort the most. An elderly man who lived alone down the street would often wait on his porch, hoping to see Max pass by. Max seemed to sense his loneliness and would gently nuzzle the man's hand, staying by his side for a few moments before continuing the walk with John. Small acts like this, quiet and unassuming, had a ripple effect that spread far beyond their immediate circle. At community events, John and Max became unofficial ambassadors of hope. They were invited to local gatherings, where their story was shared as an example of perseverance and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. People who had never owned a dog found themselves moved to consider adopting or volunteering at shelters, inspired by Max's journey from a loyal service dog to a beloved companion. Even John found himself more open and connected to those around him. The once reserved soldier now spoke freely about his experiences, his gratitude for Max, and the lessons he'd learned about love and loyalty. This vulnerability touched those he spoke with, reminding them of the profound impact a single relationship could have. Max, with his unwavering presence and gentle nature, became more than just a dog. He became a symbol of hope, healing, and the possibility of second chances. And through their story, John and Max continued to inspire everyone who crossed their path, proving that even the deepest wounds could be mended with love and connection. As John and Max's bond grew stronger, so did the reach of their remarkable story. What began as quiet admiration from neighbors and local friends soon spread far beyond their small community. One day, during a neighborhood gathering, a local journalist overheard John sharing the tale of his reunion with Max. The journalist was captivated, recognizing that this was more than just a story about a man and his dog. It was a testament to resilience, loyalty, and the healing power of unconditional love. Within a week, the journalist published an article titled, "The Soldier and His Dog, A Bond That Time Couldn't Break." The piece recounted their time in service, the heartbreaking separation, and the incredible journey that brought them back together. The story resonated deeply, quickly gaining traction online. Social media posts flooded in, with people sharing their own experiences of love and loyalty, inspired by John and Max's story. Photos of John walking alongside Max with his loyal dog's tail wagging happily became a symbol of hope that spread like wildfire. It wasn't long before the story reached the ears of a prominent veteran organization, known for honoring acts of courage and loyalty. Moved by the account of Max's bravery and the enduring connection between him and John, the organization decided to publicly recognize their extraordinary partnership. They extended an invitation to John and Max to attend their annual gala, where they would be honored with a special award. The event was grand, filled with veterans, active service members, and their families. When John and Max took the stage, a wave of applause echoed through the room. John, humbled by the response, shared their story once more, his voice steady but laced with emotion as he described how Max had saved countless lives during their missions and how their reunion had transformed his life. The audience listened intently, some wiping away tears, others nodding in understanding. As John concluded, the host of the event presented Max with a medal for his service and unwavering loyalty, a moment that left not a single dry eye in the room. Max, seated proudly beside John, seemed to sense the significance of the occasion, his eyes shining with the same gentle intelligence that had seen John through so many trials. The recognition didn't end there. News outlets covered the gala, broadcasting John and Max's story to an even wider audience. Messages poured in from around the world. Veterans who felt seen, families who had lost hope finding inspiration, and animal lovers moved by the unshakable bond between the two. The veteran organization even launched a campaign to raise awareness about the importance of reuniting retired service dogs with their handlers, using John and Max as shining examples. John often said he didn't need awards or recognition. Having Max back was more than enough. But seeing how their story touched so many lives, he realized it wasn't just about him and Max anymore. Their bond had become a beacon for others, a reminder that even in the darkest times, love and loyalty could light the way forward. The night of the ceremony was one John would never forget. The hall was filled with veterans, their families, and supporters from all walks of life, each gathered to celebrate acts of courage and resilience. Amid the rows of decorated soldiers and the hum of quiet conversations, Max stood out, a loyal companion with a calm but alert demeanor, his presence commanding respect and admiration. As the evening progressed, stories of heroism and sacrifice were shared. Each tale was a reminder of the strength and spirit found in service. But when John and Max were called to the stage, the atmosphere shifted. A hush fell over the room as they walked together, John in his formal attire and Max by his side, wearing a special harness that bore his name. The host began to recount their story, detailing their time and service together, the missions where Max had saved lives, the years they were separated, and the incredible journey that brought them back together. As the words unfolded, the audience hung on every detail, their faces reflecting a mixture of awe and emotion. When the time came to honor Max, the host invited John to speak. Standing before the crowd, John's voice was steady, but the emotion behind his words was palpable. "Max isn't just a dog," he began, his eyes glancing down at his companion. "He's my partner, my friend, and my hero. There were moments when he was the only reason I made it through. He gave me hope when I had none, and he saved lives, not just mine, but those of my brothers and sisters in service. I owe him everything." John paused, his voice thick with emotion. The audience was silent, captivated by his sincerity. "Bravery isn't just about running into danger," he continued. "It's about loyalty, about showing up no matter what, and Max embodies that in every way. I can't thank him enough for everything he's done, not just for me, but for everyone he's touched." As John stepped back, the host presented Max with a medal, an honor typically reserved for human heroes. The medal, a gleaming symbol of courage and service, was gently placed around Max's neck. The audience erupted into applause, some standing in ovation, others wiping away tears. Max, sensing the significance of the moment, stood tall, his tail wagging slowly as he looked up at John. The room seemed to glow with warmth as John knelt beside Max, wrapping his arms around the dog in a moment of quiet gratitude. It wasn't just an award ceremony. It was a celebration of the unbreakable bond between a soldier and his dog, a testament to the sacrifices they had made and the love that had carried them through it all. After the ceremony, attendees crowded around to meet Max, sharing their own stories of resilience and how they had been moved by his journey. For John, it wasn't just a night of recognition. It was a reminder that their story had the power to inspire and heal others, proving once again that love and loyalty could leave an indelible mark on the world. As the host gently placed the medal around Max's neck, a profound silence enveloped the room. The moment transcended the ceremony itself. It felt like a culmination of everything Max had endured and achieved, every life he had touched, and every sacrifice he had made. The gleaming medal rested against his sturdy frame, a symbol of bravery and loyalty that words could scarcely describe. John knelt beside Max, his hand resting on the dog's strong shoulders, his own emotions threatening to overwhelm him. For years, he had watched Max risk everything without hesitation, asking for nothing in return. Now, as Max stood proudly on the stage, this recognition wasn't just for his service. It was for the heart and soul he had poured into protecting others, for the unspoken promise he had kept every single day. The applause swelled, a wave of emotion rippling through the audience. Many stood, clapping and cheering, while others quietly wiped away tears, Veterans who had faced their own struggles nodded with understanding, moved by the sight of this dog who had embodied the values they held most dear. Max, ever calm and composed, glanced at John, his tail wagging gently as if to say, "We did this together." For John, the moment was deeply personal. As he looked into Max's soulful brown eyes, he saw not just a companion but a hero, one who had saved his life in ways far beyond the battlefield. He thought of the missions they had shared, the dangers they had faced, and the quiet nights when Max had been his only source of comfort. The medal was a tangible reminder of their journey, but it also symbolized something greater. Max's legacy, not only as a soldier's partner but as a beacon of hope for everyone who had followed their story. John leaned closer, his voice low but steady as he whispered, "This is for you, buddy, you earned it." Max nuzzled him in return, his quiet strength speaking volumes. The moment wasn't just a celebration of Max's past, it was a declaration of his enduring impact. In that room, surrounded by applause and admiration, Max's story became more than a tale of loyalty and courage. It became a symbol of the unbreakable bond between human and animal, a legacy that would inspire for generations to come. And as John and Max stood together on that stage, the room felt united by a simple truth. Love and loyalty, when given freely and unconditionally, have the power to change the world. The reunion between John and Max wasn't just a joyful coincidence. It was a lifeline for both of them, a chance to rebuild what they had lost and discover happiness anew. For John, the years without Max had been marked by an unshakable emptiness. Life had moved forward, but something vital was missing. Max wasn't just a dog. He had been John's anchor in the chaos of war, the constant that gave him strength when everything else seemed uncertain. Without Max, it felt like a part of John's heart had been left behind. Max, too, had endured his own journey of loss. Though well cared for after his retirement, he had spent his days waiting for something he couldn't name, his loyalty and purpose untethered. The spark that had defined him as a soldier's companion seemed to fade as he adjusted to a quieter, more solitary life. But when he saw John again, when he recognized the man who had always been his person, it was as though all the years apart dissolved in an instant. Their reunion brought with it a renewed sense of purpose and belonging. For John, having Max by his side once more reminded him of all the good in the world, even after everything he had been through. Max wasn't just a link to his past, he was a bridge to a brighter future. The simple routines they shared, walks in the morning, playing fetch in the yard, quiet evenings by the fire, gave John a profound sense of peace, grounding him in the present, and filling his days with joy. For Max, being back with John gave him a reason to thrive. The once weary dog found himself rejuvenated, his steps lighter and his demeanor brighter. He rediscovered the playful, loyal spirit that had defined his service years, as if the bond with John had reignited something deep within him. Max's tail wagged with the energy of a pup as they explored familiar trails, and his eyes sparkled with contentment during their quiet moments together. This second chance wasn't just about reliving old memories. It was about creating new ones. John and Max had both faced challenges that left scars, visible and invisible, but their reunion gave them the healing they hadn't realized they needed. Together, they rediscovered the joy of companionship, the comfort of knowing someone would always have their back, and the unspoken understanding that only comes from a bond as deep as theirs. Their story wasn't just about finding each other again. It was about showing the world that even after loss and hardship, happiness is still possible. For John and Max, this second chance wasn't just a continuation of their journey. It was the beginning of something even greater. It was a reminder that love, loyalty, and resilience have the power to transform lives, no matter how far apart they may seem. Their story didn't end with the reunion. For John, having Max back in his life was more than just a personal triumph. It was a call to action. As he spent more time with Max, he began to think about all the other soldiers who had been separated from their loyal companions, and all the retired military dogs who, like Max, were waiting for a second chance at purpose and love. John realized that their bond was a testament to something larger, the transformative power of reconnecting veterans with the animals they had served alongside. He started sharing their story at community events, veteran gatherings, and even online, drawing attention to the importance of these partnerships. People listened. They were moved by the tale of how Max had saved John, not just on the battlefield, but years later when life had felt hollow and uncertain. Determined to make a difference, John began working with organizations that rehomed retired military dogs. He visited shelters, spoke with handlers, and reached out to fellow veterans, spreading awareness about the need to prioritize these reunions. These dogs aren't just service animals, John would say. They're heroes. They've sacrificed just as much as we have, and they deserve to spend the rest of their lives with the people who love and understand them most. John's efforts soon gained momentum. With Max by his side, he helped raise funds to expand programs that facilitated these reunions. They attended events together, Max often wearing the medal he had earned, a symbol of the bond they were fighting to replicate for others. Veterans who had read about John and Max began reaching out, sharing their own stories of loss and longing, and finding hope in the possibility of reconnecting with their dogs. Max became an ambassador of sorts, his calm presence inspiring both veterans and supporters. People who had never considered adopting a retired service dog found themselves moved to act, realizing that these animals weren't just companions, they were lifesavers. For John, every adoption, every successful reunion, was another step toward honoring the unbreakable bond that had brought him and Max back together. John often reflected on how much his life had changed since their reunion. He had found happiness again, not just in having Max back, but in knowing that their story was making a difference. Together, they were creating a legacy that went beyond their own experiences, a movement to ensure that no soldier or dog would ever feel forgotten. As John stood at the podium during one of his speeches with Max sitting faithfully at his side, he ended with the words that had become his mission. A bond like this doesn't end with time or distance. It's something that lasts forever. Every veteran deserves the chance to bring their partner home, and every dog deserves the love and gratitude they've earned. Together, we can make that happen. The applause that followed wasn't just for John and Max. It was for the countless lives their story had touched, and the many more they would continue to inspire. Their journey had come full circle, transforming personal love and loyalty into a powerful force for change. As the years passed, John and Max's story continued to inspire people far and wide. Their bond, forged in the crucible of service and tested by time and distance, had become a symbol of resilience and hope. Together, they had shown the world that love and loyalty could overcome even the greatest challenges. John often reflected on their journey, from the battlefields where Max had been his protector, to the quiet moments of their reunion that had healed his heart. Max, now older but still as devoted as ever, remained by his side, his presence a constant reminder of everything they had endured and everything they had gained. Their story wasn't just about a soldier and his dog. It was about the power of connection, the importance of second chances, and the enduring strength of loyalty. And through every step of their journey, one truth remained clear. Because some bonds, like theirs, are unbreakable. If you've been inspired by the story of John and Max, you can make a difference too. Support programs that connect retired military dogs with veterans, volunteer at local shelters, or share this story to raise awareness. Together, we can honor the bonds that change lives and ensure that every hero, human or canine, gets the second chance they deserve. Subscribe now to hear more stories like this, and let's keep spreading hope and love. Because every act of kindness starts with us.